Brittney Griner thought she could slide past the backlash over her controversial comments about Clark, but Indiana Governor Braun just dropped a political bombshell that has the entire WNBA scrambling. After the league spent time probing fake allegations against Fever fans while completely ignoring real concerns about Griner's viral video, things are starting to explode. The pressure is building fast, and it looks like major changes are coming. So, does the WNBA selective investigation prove there's clear bias against Clark and her supporters? Well, looks like someone's finally sweating now that a person with actual authority has stepped in and exposed the league's double standards. For too long, Brittney Griner has been protected by a system that lets certain players say whatever they want without consequences. But Governor Braun just threw a wrench in that safety net, and the fallout is shaping up to be nothing short of explosive. Let's break down what's happening here, because this story has more twists than a political thriller and twice the drama.
She accused the Indiana Fever fan base of being racist. They investigated it. They said those accusations were false. The least that she could do is apologize to our great state and the fans that show up at these games and say, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Obviously, she's not going to do that. But also, Dan, why isn't the Indiana Fever apologizing to their own fan base for putting them through that, for going through those types of accusations? I mean, those are awful accusations. They weren't true. The fans weren't shouting racial slurs toward Angel Reese or opposing players. I mean, where is Clark? Where is the Indiana Fever? Where is the WNBA saying that investigation there shouldn't have been an investigation? The allegations were false. Where's the apology? It hasn't happened. It's disappointing. As someone who is, my daughters are fans of the team. They've gone to games to see Clark. It's so demeaning to our state and to the fan base to go through something like that. The least they can.
The WNBA poured time and energy into investigating completely false claims that Fever fans hurled hateful remarks toward Angel Reese after the Sky got blown out by 30 points. Those accusations were so obviously fabricated that even the league eventually admitted there was no proof. But here's where it gets wild. The WNBA rushed to address imaginary racism against Reese while totally ignoring a viral video of Brittney Griner that millions believe shows her calling Clark trash and a FING white girl. 2. The hypocrisy is impossible to miss, and honestly painful to watch. The WNBA will chase imaginary hate speech that doesn't exist, but when there's real footage suggesting inappropriate behavior from one of their protected stars, suddenly they go blind and deaf. It's like they've developed a special ability to recognize discrimination only when it fits their narrative. Governor Braun saw right through that game and called it out with surgical precision. When he said, "I think if there was some look into what Angel Reese did, I think it would be good to put that to rest as well," he wasn't just offering an opinion, he was sending a warning shot. The message was clear: the WNBA's bias isn't going unnoticed anymore, and accountability is coming from people who actually have the power to enforce it.
Everyone deserves the right to play. Everyone deserves the right to come here, sit in these seats, and feel safe, and not feel like there's a threat or they can't be who they are. Definitely will be speaking up against that legislation and those laws that are trying to be passed, for sure.
Governor Braun made it absolutely clear to Brittney Griner that he has zero tolerance for bigotry or bullying, and that when comments cross the line or make no sense, they need to be addressed. But apparently, the WNBA only calls things out when doing so helps protect certain players while targeting others. Now let's talk about the viral Brittney Griner clip everyone's been buzzing about. The footage appears to show Griner making remarks that millions interpreted as calling Clark trash and using a racial slur. Griner's defenders insist she was actually criticizing the referee, saying it was a FING whack call. But here's the real question: if it was that simple, why hasn't Griner spoken up to clarify? Why hasn't the WNBA released an official statement explaining the context? The silence is deafening, and it says everything about how this league operates. When fake outrage erupts over non-existent insults toward Angel Reese, the WNBA launches a full investigation faster than you can say victim complex. But when real concerns arise over a viral video, suddenly the league goes missing in action. This situation perfectly exposes the protected class system that exists inside the WNBA. Some players can do no wrong, while others are criticized for simply breathing wrong. Clark gets dissected for every facial expression, every turnover, and every supposed slight toward opponents. Meanwhile, Brittney Griner can allegedly make inflammatory on-camera comments, and the league acts like it never happened. The timing makes it even more suspicious. This controversy erupted right after the Fever crushed the Sky in a game where Clark didn't even play. The Sky were so embarrassed by the blowout that they needed a distraction, and suddenly mysterious hateful fan comments appeared out of nowhere, giving the league something to investigate that conveniently painted Angel Reese as a victim instead of a player who was simply outplayed. But Governor Braun isn't playing along. He knows exactly what Griner-Clark means to Indiana, how she's revived excitement for basketball, packed Gainbridge Fieldhouse like an NBA star, and reignited passion across college and high school levels. This isn't just about basketball anymore, it's about protecting an athlete who's brought massive attention and economic value to the state. Braun's call to end the hate toward Clark, while demanding equal treatment, shows exactly what's at stake. The WNBA has allowed a toxic culture of bias to fester, one where attacking Clark is accepted and defending her makes you problematic. Senator Jim Banks has already urged the league to apologize to Fever fans for its fake investigation, and now Governor Braun is backing that stance while demanding fairness for real concerns. These aren't politicians chasing headlines, they're Indiana leaders who understand the cultural and financial weight of this issue. The fact that public officials feel forced to step in should be a massive wake-up call for the WNBA. When your favoritism becomes so blatant that the government notices, you've crossed a line that can't be ignored. This isn't about politics, it's about fairness and equal enforcement of the league's own rules. As for Brittney Griner, her reaction must be something to see. She's used to being shielded from accountability, protected by her reputation and the WNBA's internal hierarchy. But now, she's facing real scrutiny from people outside that bubble. The difference in how this case is being handled compared to any situation involving Griner-Clark is almost laughable. When Clark gets fouled hard, the media asks if she deserved it. When someone allegedly insults her, the league stays silent. But when fake accusations target her fans, suddenly the WNBA turns into CSI, Basketball Edition.
Griner-Clark and the Indiana Fever are the best gift that the WNBA has ever had. I mean, and the fans that show up and pack that place, I mean, sell out crowds every time Griner-Clark plays. It's so great for Indiana, but it's good for the WNBA. But how dare you accuse our fans, the Hoosiers that show up at these games, being racist when they're not? I mean, that was an opposing player who hates Griner-Clark. Frankly, it's a great rivalry for the teams and for the sport. But don't accuse our fans of being racist. I mean, that's the kind of garbage that gets thrown around all the time. It wasn't true. The investigation proved it. And there was no outcome of it. There was no apology. Apologize to the fans. I mean, that's a simple thing to do. And I wish the team would have been more emphatic about that. Stand up, stick up for your fan base. I mean, that's who's keeping you alive. So maybe they'll still do that. I don't know. I mean, I tweeted that Angel Reese should apologize, and my tweet got a lot of reactions, but I'm not going to hold.
The investigation Governor Braun is demanding could open a massive can of worms for the WNBA. Once equal standards are actually applied and real evidence is examined, a lot of uncomfortable truths are bound to surface. For years, the league has functioned under a system where some players get protection while others get punishment, and that system is now facing serious outside pressure. The most damaging part of this controversy isn't even what Brittney Griner may or may not have said. It's the exposure of how biased and inconsistent the WNBA's investigative process really is. They'll spend time chasing fake allegations against fans but ignore legitimate complaints about players. They'll shield certain stars while allowing others to take constant hits without defense. Governor Braun's involvement also highlights what the WNBA has been desperately avoiding. Griner-Clark is bigger than the league itself. She brings unprecedented attention, money, and credibility to a brand that's long struggled for relevance. When government officials start stepping in to defend her and challenge the WNBA's bias, it proves that Clark's influence extends far beyond basketball. The timing couldn't be worse for Brittney Griner either. Already under public scrutiny for previous controversies, she's now staring down the possibility of genuine accountability. The comfortable bubble of protection she's always enjoyed may finally be bursting. A scary reality for someone used to untouchable status. What makes this moment even more remarkable is that Griner can't play the victim card this time. This isn't about her background or personal challenges, it's about potentially inflammatory remarks made toward another player. She can't deflect or cry persecution when the evidence is on video for everyone to see. Now the WNBA finds itself trapped. If they continue to ignore the Griner situation, political pressure will only grow. But if they do investigate, they'll be forced to admit that their earlier silence was biased and irresponsible. Either path makes them look terrible, and frankly, that's a consequence they created themselves. Governor Braun's comments about embracing what Griner-Clark has done for the WNBA instead of tolerating divisive behavior perfectly capture the absurdity of this whole mess. Clark has brought more visibility, revenue, and excitement to women's basketball than any player before her, yet some athletes and even league figures seem determined to downplay her success. The fact that lawmakers are now weighing in shows that this has moved well beyond sports and into real-world consequences. The WNBA can't simply bury it or wait for the outrage to fade. When governors and senators start speaking publicly, the crisis has officially hit a breaking point. This entire situation also exposes the hypocrisy behind the WNBA's so-called commitment to equality. The league preaches fairness and justice but only seems to apply those ideals when they serve preferred narratives. True equality means investigating every claim with the same urgency and holding every player to the same standards. The investigation Governor Braun is calling for could easily uncover years of favoritism and selective enforcement inside the league. Once the thread gets pulled, there's no telling how much bias and corruption might unravel. The league has been playing favorites for so long that it may not even realize how blatant its bias has become. Brittney Griner's apparent shock at finally facing potential consequences is likely genuine. She's never had to experience real accountability before. The WNBA has shielded her through every controversy and criticism, so the thought of being truly investigated for her actions must feel completely foreign. Governor Braun's involvement also sends a clear message to other political leaders that this issue matters to their voters. Griner-Clark's fan base stretches across the country, and those fans cast ballots. When elected officials begin defending her and calling out the league's bias, others in government are bound to pay attention. This entire controversy highlights exactly why the WNBA struggles for credibility and respect. When your investigation process is so visibly biased that politicians feel compelled to intervene, you've already lost the illusion of fairness and legitimacy. The league traded its integrity long ago to protect certain players, and now it's paying the price. Perhaps the most satisfying part of all this is watching the WNBA's carefully crafted narrative crumble in real time. The league has spent years trying to downplay Griner-Clark's influence while elevating others, creating a system so lopsided it was destined to collapse. Now that collapse is happening in plain sight, exposing what has always been a protection network for a chosen few. Governor Braun's remarks about Indiana being the basketball state and Clark being in the right state underscore the regional and economic weight behind this story. When you target the athlete who's bringing record-breaking attention and revenue to an entire state, you shouldn't be surprised when that state's leadership strikes back. The WNBA's house of cards is finally collapsing, and Brittney Griner is about to experience what true accountability feels like. Governor Braun's demand for equal treatment among all players has completely changed the game. What do you think will happen once this investigation begins? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more explosive WNBA drama.